6 Things You Should Never Say, according to Machiavelli. Episode 2, Part 1, The Power of Shutting Up. What if I told you that the most dangerous thing you can do is speak without thinking? Niccolò Machiavelli believed that power doesn't just come from action. It comes from silence, from restraint, from knowing exactly what not to say. Words can build empires, but the wrong words, they can destroy your influence in a heartbeat. In a world where everyone overshares, the smartest minds are selective. Selective with their words, their reactions, their presence. Today on The Mental Gym, we'll explore 6 things you should never say. If you want to gain respect, master social strategy, and train your mind for dominance. Take notes. This one isn't for the loud. It's for the calculated. Part 2. I'm just being honest. The first thing you should never say? I'm just being honest. It sounds harmless, even virtuous. But here's the problem. People use it as a weapon. Honesty without restraint isn't courage. It's carelessness. Machiavelli understood that truth in the wrong context can be just as dangerous as a lie. Before you speak, ask yourself, is this truth useful? Does it serve a purpose? Or am I just trying to unload my emotions under the mask of honesty? Powerful people don't say everything they think. They say what moves them forward. So remember, honesty without strategy is just verbal self-sabotage. Part 3. That's just who I am. The second thing you should never say? That's just who I am. It sounds like confidence, but it's actually resignation. When you say this, you're not showing strength. You're showing you're done growing. Machiavellian thinkers understand that identity is fluid. You adapt, you evolve, you upgrade. People who cling to rigid self-definitions limit their power. They trap themselves in small boxes, defending flaws instead of fixing them. You're not a finished product. You're a project under construction. So the next time you're tempted to say, "That's just who I am," pause and ask yourself, is that who I want to remain? Part 4, no offense, but the third phrase you should never say? No offense, but if you need to say no offense, it's because what follows is offensive. This phrase is a weak attempt to avoid accountability. It's like throwing a punch and pretending it's a handshake. Machiavelli would tell you, if you're going to strike, strike with purpose. If you're going to be silent, then be completely silent. But don't mask an insult with fake courtesy. Powerful minds don't need to sugarcoat their intentions. And they don't throw daggers while pretending to hand out flowers. Say what you mean, or say nothing at all. But never disguise disrespect as diplomacy. Part 5. That's not fair. The fourth phrase you should never say? That's not fair. It reveals a mindset that expects the world to play by rules, instead of learning how to master the game. Machiavelli knew the world isn't built on fairness, it's built on power, perception, and leverage. When you say that's not fair, what you're really saying is, I don't know how to win under these conditions. But powerful minds don't complain, they calculate. Instead of reacting emotionally, they adapt strategically. Don't focus on what's fair. Focus on what works. Part 6. With all due respect. The fifth phrase you should never say? With all due respect. Because what usually follows is pure disrespect. It's a linguistic trick. A way to sound polite while preparing to attack. But here's the Machiavellian truth. If you're going to disagree, do it with precision, not pretense. Powerful communicators don't soften their message to protect egos. They speak with clarity and intent. Saying with all due respect only makes you sound passive-aggressive, like you're afraid to own your opinion. Instead, be bold, be direct, say less, but mean more. Part 7. I hope this works. The sixth phrase you should never say. I hope this works. It sounds humble, maybe even optimistic, but it quietly signals weakness. Hope is passive, it waits. Power is active, it decides. Machiavellian thinkers don't rely on hope. They rely on preparation, calculation, and execution. When you say, I hope this works, you're already admitting doubt. You're handing control to chance instead of taking control yourself. Replace I hope with I will. Replace hesitation with certainty. Because in the arena of power, hesitation is defeat. Part 8. Silence is a weapon. Now that we've covered the 6 things you should never say, let's talk about what to do instead. Silence, not the awkward kind, the strategic kind. Machiavelli understood that silence isn't emptiness, it's leverage. Silence makes people uncomfortable. It makes them reveal things they didn't plan to. It gives you space to observe, assess, and respond with precision. Every time you hold back a reaction, you gain a second of control, and that second can shift the entire power dynamic. Train your mind to pause, to listen, to choose your words like a weapon, rarely drawn, always sharp. Part 9. Control the narrative. Powerful people don't just control what they say, they control what others believe about them. And that starts with your narrative. Every word you speak either reinforces your identity or weakens it. If you constantly say things like, I'm always late, I can't focus, I'm not good at that, then guess what? Your brain listens, and so does everyone else. Machiavelli would tell you, craft your persona. Build it through consistency. Reinforce it through language. Speak your identity into existence, not your insecurity. Part 10. Words shape perception. Your words don't just describe your world, they create it. Every sentence is a message, not just to others, but to your own subconscious. If you speak with uncertainty, people will treat you like you're unsure. If you speak with conviction, even when you're still learning, people will lean in and listen. Machiavellian communication isn't about deception. It's about direction. You guide perception by guiding your language. That's how you influence without force. That's how you lead without shouting. Use fewer words, sharper words. Words that leave no room for misinterpretation. Part 11. The art of saying nothing. Sometimes the most powerful response is none at all. Not every challenge deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves your attention. Machiavelli taught that restraint is a sign of strength, not submission. When you stay silent in the face of chaos, you stay in control. You don't owe anyone a reaction. You don't owe every situation an explanation. And the more you practice the art of saying nothing, the more your presence will say everything. Silence creates mystery, and mystery creates power. Part 12. Final thoughts. Power doesn't always look like force. Sometimes it sounds like nothing. Machiavelli knew that the sharpest minds speak less and say more. So here's your challenge. In the next conversation you have, don't focus on being heard. Focus on being calculated. Speak less. Listen more. And when you do speak, make it count. This is how you train your mind. Not just to react, but to rule. Subscribe to the mental gym and sharpen your edge, one word at a time.